Oh yeah, I dragged in that. That's a 1.5 horsepower right there. It's got a Mosh. It's got a one of them bosch-magnetos on it. We'll get up on a workbench. See what the shape of that cam is. And as an update, I blowed out a gasket, which is quite unusual for me, as I put a gasket sealer on both sides of the gasket. In this case, I didn't. I knew I was going to be taking the igniter back off the engine, so I only put sealer on one side of it. And when it started it up there on the battery and the coil, and the bolts may have been a little bit on the loose side there too. But you can see there up there at the top where it blowed out there. So, yeah, I'm going to put the same kind of gasket back on there, but put some sealer on both sides there. I think we'll be all right. This is what it looks like. I done already took the end plate off. Looks pretty good. Wore brush a little bit. The problem being is not enough spark to start the engine with the magneto only. So and this is what it looks like. The coils looks really good in there. Those pole pieces are exceptionally clean. It don't look like it's been making contact. No scraping. That's you can actually see. So. The little lead-out wire up here is kind of fragile, so great care will be taken when I clean up this side of it. And but I think it has a pretty good charge in it. If you put a screwdriver in it, see you can actually it has enough magnetism when you pull away that it actually snaps away. You have to exert some force past something to make it release. So it has that much magnetism in it. And I've had on the charger over. So and I did go ahead and use that gear puller to remove the little flipper thing there on this side, but with this still intact on this end down here, and that bearing feels real good. But I did note some side play, so it definitely needs a little side play adjustment. But the bearing is within, well, it's really smooth and tight. So the keyway was good and intact and all. But we'll put it back together now. And this is a totally this igniter bracket. This ain't the one was on there. This is the second one, and it has it has good snap and everything. It has a good bushing in there and all. It has really good igniter tips done already. It had a sandpaper to them. But you know, it works. It works, and so you know, even to the point of changing the igniter out. So that's where we're at about right now. Well, I'll show you something. I learned you something today just by pointing it out to you only. And but in this machinery handbook, that's the 22nd one they made right there. And I got this, I don't know how, but you know, just to give you a book review at some point. I mean, this is it's been said on somebody left a comment on my channel that said, you know, if you get by the fluff, you'd learn something. Okay, I think that's today's video. You know, just go ahead and hit that thumbs up right there now, because you know it's going to be a good one. To the point of your education benefit. For entertainment purposes only, let's put a disclaimer in there. But to learn you something, and a book review, in a shout out to Mr. Pete. Man, I bet it's getting cold over around his house. But anyway, Mr. Pete, a thumbs up to you, and all the encouragement in the world to me to go direct to this machinery handbook. Just saying. And you know, I still got my same seat back there, about row 5, you know, third seat over from the aisle. You know, I'm always in the audience. And I recommend Mr. Pete's channel to everybody. In light of that, pointing out something immediately, and the same shout out to Ox Tools. Tom Lipton out there done wrote a couple of books, you know. Quite impressive resume, I'm sure. Moving from here to there, you know. Thumbs up there, Tom. And I hope this is in learning guidance that the importance of a book. But this has been somebody else's book. As attested to, there's nothing remains there except, you know where some glue was at? I think it was on this side. There was a label affixed to that blank page right there. Well, it's gone, but that's a good page right there to pencil in some notes. I'm just pointing that out. I think there's one in the back there. You should use them. But there's somebody else had the book, and it's got somebody. It's done been wrote on. I think I got this at the library sale for like, you know, 50 cents or something one time. I'm sure that's how I acquired this, almost positive, but I'm not sure. But it has, if I can quote this to you out loud, it's WMU up at the top in 3 letters, Engineering Technology Department, and it's FSITKINS seconds. You know, that person once owned this book, and it's still as good now as it was when that person had it. And that's the fluff. The importance of it is winding a spring. I have a I'll point you in that direction right over there. I have a spring winding apparatus, and I need to wind the spring on it. But I don't have a Minotaur in the spring winding department. I have nobody to ask, So I went to this machinery handbook, and I noticed immediately how important that it is that they would devote this many pages to spring winding. I done already dog-eared it. Okay, spring winding, springs, is followed in this book by friction. Friction and wear, that's something else. So we end on page 433 all the way back to 385. We'll do the math on that. But it's quite a section of, this is how much information that they devoted on spring winding. You know, it's everything's in here, I reckon, except it's not easy to understand this. I've done read this section here at least 4 times myself, and I tell you what the question is. You may know it readily. If you do, just, well, ponder it being a problem for, I don't have any instructions for that machine either. And my question is, in relationship to spring back, I need a spring a certain dimension in length as in diameter. Okay, I know how to get the diameter going by in here. It's a graph in here, and it tells you what size your arbor should be. But how long should you make that spring so that the first spring you make, the spring back, will be the perfect dimensions you're winding to? Ponder that, and then we'll talk about this Webster Magneto. That's the reason for the video. Concerning this Webster Magneto. This is not the one I can use on that engine over there. This is a K8 type. 2 magnets, a little more robust build, I think, and a different bolt pattern in the backer. Bolt pattern in the bottom. But it works the same. Has the same apparatus back here, the flip off. So this is the one that we started with. It's a L. That's a M. This is an M size, which is a single horseshoe magnet. And I'll show you something that can be of interest to you, I think, to pencil in on that blank page. But this is the armature out of it, the rotor. And to describe it to you, to be a benefit to you in the future if you're taking yours apart, I used a gear puller, this one right here as a matter of fact, and to pull this this tripper arm off of this shaft right here, as not to pry on anything. So, and it has a keyway in it to position that. Well, on the back side, I didn't take this off yet. That's the way it was on the engine from the factory, I assume. So, and if you look at, this is the way the thing works right here. If you're having problems with it, this one's already out in hand. But I'll make note of this. In this end plate here, I cleaned that up, and down in that oil hole was this, that wick that was down in there. It's harder than a piece of granite. No, you can move it a little bit. So, anyways, I dug that out of there, and I done put a new one down in there, a little piece of felt. So, you know, it would never got no oil had stoppage like that. But anyway, fix that, and I assume this one's, I'll have to get that out and put another one in there. But I was not going to disassemble this because this part is really, really good. The bushing in there is really good. So I was not going to remove this. bring it to your mind, your attention, pencil and paper in hand. This is the way it works. In a visual, so you can actually see it. You see that turning right there? I mean, this is all it is. There's nothing, you can't make no more out of this thing here than what it is. It's basic, simple magnetism. But to note, if you was studying about electricity and stuff, current, this arm right here, this is the way these end plates would be on this housing. So, and what happens is that push arm comes up there and pushes this forward, and when it gets right there, it trips away. Okay, when it goes back to, when it trips, then the springs brings it back to this position. So actually, see, this is that's the limit of the travel of that armature at any time in this magneto. It never makes full turn. Only like 40 degrees, because that's where you time it at. This 40 degrees on this arm right here, on this side over here. When you line that keyway up, I'm just going to stick it up there for reference, but it would be right there's where they are. Okay, if you come back like this right here, where this trips off, this distance over here will be the 40 degrees right there, and it trips off and jumps backwards at 40 degrees right there. That's a maximum magnetism in this rotation is, and that's important. And to note, if you disassemble this, to note the sideways position of this armature is the two that has the rivets, and they are a little larger than the other two. So make note of that. And that being in relationship to the keyway down there, well, it's really not lined up. It's like, well, I think 40 degrees is the secret number here, evidently. But I'm going to put it all back together because it's really clean. The wiring is, well, it's really clean, but you know, I have not found anything wrong with it. Anything would cause a problem. So I'm gonna put it back together, and I did already go ahead and source in some. I had this lead out right here, and that's a stranded copper wire, a pretty good one, a little oversized, and soldered in over here to make contact. But I think probably this thing here, when it was brand new, it had a single strand lead out wire. So I'm going to replace it with the equivalent one there. Let's get that done. And not to leave you a miss on the engine. I'll show you. This is the igniter, and that's a 47 right there. 303 M47 is the size, but it has a little bit of play, some amount of play, wobble in this movable electrode here. Okay, but the spring and all this everything was good on that thing. But I did have this one right here, which is some better, and to not stop and put a bushing in there, I elected to change it out to this igniter, and it's the same thing, but it's a much tighter, nice electrodes on the nice contacts there, and spring and all. So I'm gonna change it out to this one, and to eliminate any possibility of a spark, a wayward spark, if that shaft got too close to the housing. But another way, I'll show you something. And the other way is if you put this thing right here on here, you can caulk this. Okay, y'all see it right there. That's what you see in this thing right here. If I put this back on here in relationship to the line the keyway up just by eye, but this one was opposite, that the long arm was on that side over there. But with this starting lever, which this small engine, you don't have room for this starting lever on it. But it sets that at 40 degrees in relationship to that shaft there. Which the 40 degrees in the back relationships to this puts that at that, and right there is where your pole piece is going to be. So when that, this is the way it works. When that trips, when that comes up here and trips off, it jumps back like that. So this big pole piece is actually, it's, well, let me study about this. Let's see, it trips off like, it would be up here, it tripped off, and it, like that. So it would be when it left the pole piece. When that comes back down that way and leaves that pole piece is when the spark is ignited. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure. But, you know, it's not much, but it's important. You know, just as dragged in, you know, if you keep a count, repairs on this engine right here to set it back to original, let's say, not restored, but just really, really good original. You know, it's I've been keeping numbers. So, you know, to rebuild that engine, parts. The parts, if you're judicious about your record keeping, you know, like the spark plug war needs replacing, I can see immediately. So, you know, how much does a spark plug war cost? A muffler, you know, to replace that aftermarket. Gas tank's got a hole in it. Second repair looks like on it. So the whole fuel system is, it needs to be replaced with the correct system. You know, you're going to need valves in that thing. Head gasket. You know, just parts I'm talking about. So, you know, you're going to need fuel lines. So, when you take the mixer apart, when you take the bolts out of that thing and take it apart, you can be readily assured that that venturi sleeve in that mixer is going to break into half. At that point, you're going to need one of them. But it's assured you're going to need the thing, so just get on order. You know, I can see it. it would require at least one gib key cover there I see missing on this side. So, just little things like that.